So the big question is this: how do most agents who struggle to get the information that most successful agents hoard to themselves grow and prosper without this information? That's the big question, and this video cast is the answer. Welcome to Real Estate Rockstars. I'm your host, Pat Hyben. All right, Rockstars, listen, I had a little issue last week. Apple iTunes removed this podcast for 3 days. It was an absolute disaster. I had sleepless nights. I mean, it was crazy because I had put some extra words after Real Estate Rockstars. I put the word selling, sales, trying to think that they would help with search engine optimization. I was actually given advice to do that. And they took it down without notice because they said they frown on that, or they don't allow that. So now it's just Real Estate Rockstars with Pat Hyben, which was fine and it's fixed. But what happened was the only people that were able to listen to Wednesdays and Fridays episodes either did it on Stitcher Radio, right, on their non-iPhone, on their smartphone, right, on their Android, whatever, or on a computer, or were subscribed. So if you were a subscriber on iTunes, you were able to get the Friday and Wednesdays episode, but if you weren't a subscriber, you couldn't hear it. Now, I don't plan on that happening again, but my point is that the subscribers benefited, and so if you have not hit the subscribe button, please subscribe to this podcast just in case any shenanigans happen like that again. You're guaranteed to get every single episode. Thanks, guys. All right, Rockstar Nation, we got a great returning guest. Mr. Michael LaFido from the Chicagoland area is back, and we are going to talk about some good stuff regarding real estate, some true meat and potatoes. So hold on to your hats and welcome back, Michael.
Thank you. Meat and potatoes, being from Chicago, we like both here. Hey, buddy, why don't you tell everybody about yourself so they can get to know you better? Sure. So I'm been a licensed agent for a little over 18 years. And I also run a luxury consulting business that helps agents and teams and brokerages basically either strengthen or launch their luxury divisions.
Wow, that's fascinating. And so as not to turn people off, like you have a definition of luxury. What is that?
Yeah, so for example, Pat, I recently did a training in Blue Collar America, Crown Point, Indiana, and I had an agent who came up to me afterwards and asked, or basically said, hey, I'm glad I came to your training. I was a little hesitant because, when I heard you were talking about luxury, we don't have a lot of $1 million homes in this particular area, but I define luxury homes as 3 times whatever the average sale price. So in Crown Point, Indiana, the average sale price, according to this agent, was $167. So 3 times $167, doing the math real quick, is around $510-ish. So she said, man, we have a lot of $500,000 and $600,000 homes. We just don't have many 8, 9s or $1 million plus. So we define luxury homes as 3 times whatever the average sale price is for any given market. And then we define one step lower than that. We defined high-end homes as 2 times whatever the average sale price is.
We're going to be able to talk today about recommendations you have on how someone could 3x their average sale price, or at least 2x their average sale price.
Yeah, so I talk about the 30% rule on how they can make 30% more over the next 12 months. So 30% is not 3x or 2x. And the reason I've stepped back from that a little bit, Pat, is because I've had many people that say, man, I'm selling $300,000 homes. If you said I can get to 9 or 1.2, although that's intriguing, that doesn't seem real believable to me. So we start with baby steps. So my goal for somebody over the next 12 months, implementing the systems and so forth, that we really make core competencies of our training, is the 30% rule. So if you're selling on average $300,000 as the average sale price, of the first 9 months of the year, if we can get you to 390, okay, that would be a 30% raise selling the same number of homes. If you're 400, if you can go to 4 to 520, 5 to 650, 100 to 130, that's a 30% raise.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if you add, if you take 30% of 390, you know, that's going to put you at 520 or so in 24 months. So, you know, that, I mean, that's a big jump. So
that's a big jump.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about your business. So like how many houses did you sell in the last 12 months?
You know, that's a good question. I focus more on the volume. So my volume in the last 12 months has been around 15 million in direct volume, but I've referred out about 25 million because I do about 75% of my time and energy is on the consulting side. So I refer a lot of business in-house and out of our company as well if there's an agent that doesn't really specialize in a particular area.
So that's fascinating. So 75%, you know, you did 25 million and you did 15 million,
15.
Referred out 25 million. Now the 25 million that you referred out, and that's 25 million that settled, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you got referral fees on all that, right?
Yeah, referral fees are all negotiable, right? So sometimes it's a standard, I hate to say standard, but the 25%, but other referral fees I'm getting 50 and sometimes 75% on, depending on what my relationship is with that referral. Sometimes I'll be on behind the scenes. Other times it's literally, you know, I'm doing my due diligence, figuring out who the best agent is, and I take the standard 25% referral fee and I'm not involved.
Yeah. So in what instance would you take 75% on a referral fee?
Yeah. So I've had people, you know, come to me and say, hey, I have this opportunity. I want to be the listing agent. You're not with our company, so you can't officially be the co-listing agent. In other words, in Illinois, the co-listing agent has to be with the same company. But just like in California and some of these other big, you know, markets, sometimes there's 2 or 3 different agents involved. And so if I'm involved and I'm holding the agent's hand and guiding them, you know, basically on strategizing on how to position the home most effectively, as well as what's the best course of action to market the property, that's more involvement. And so I'm going to be taking, you know, a much higher referral fee because I'm involved more.
Wow, that's fascinating. And so how many of those do you think, you know, of that $25 million worth of business that you successfully referred out and got paid on, how much of those were like in your market and how much of those were out of in another state to another agent?
Most of them are across the country. For example, the co-founder of EXP, I helped him secure a $6.5 million listing in Scottsdale. Now, they haven't sold that one. There's an instance where it's not pending. It hasn't sold yet. But he hired me. I coached him up. I helped him secure the listing, right? You can't sell it if you don't get the listing. So I coached him up. I helped him secure the listing. And Pat, you know, I'm working with him on event-based marketing and various things to get exposure on the property. They just had a Freedom Summit at the property where they had 90-plus agents by invite only come to the event for a full-day training. There were other national trainers and speakers there. And there's an example of how I haven't gotten paid on that one, but that's a perfect example. So,
but when it sells, you'll get a referral fee.
I'll get a referral fee on that one.
And,
yep.
and that was a listing that you heard of first and then you referred it to him?
No, it goes both ways. So sometimes I'll get the opportunity come my way, right? And I'll refer it out. In that instance, he approached me, said, hey, I got this unique opportunity. Will you help me secure the listing?
And he approached you, and instead of just paying you an hourly fee, you said, let's split it, or let's do it.
Yeah, it really depends on the situation.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
If I think it's sellable or not, you know, if I think it's sellable, I'll just, you know, do a referral fee. If I think it's, you know, borderline sellable, I'll charge some kind of retainer up front and maybe less on the back end, Pat.
And then because of your advice, he was able to secure said listing. Now, did you have any video conferences with the seller, or were you just kind of like a little mouse in his ear or checking advice? You know,
no problem. I'm looking around. I don't see it, but but I sent him a copy of my book, meaning the agent, to share with the seller. He gave him a copy of my book and gave the seller my video book, which is basically a video brochure. You open it up, it's got a 10-inch monitor, and I created a custom video message for the owner, and he shared that with the seller. And so that was something that he, leveraged and used per my direction to help the seller realize he wasn't just hiring Brian and Frank, he was also getting me, and I was going to be working with them behind the scenes, directly and indirectly, to help, secure a buyer for the property.
Yeah, so he went into the seller and was like, look, because the thing with a lot of people that holds people back from luxury is they fear that they don't have the track record. So they go to a $6 million listing like this one you're talking about, and they're like, well, the highest thing I sold in the last 12 months is 525. So how in the hell am I going to get this listing? So essentially, that's where you came in, right? You say, look, I sell these all day long. And
yeah, that's exactly right. I call those limiting beliefs or the what ifs. What ifs hold agents back. What if they ask me how many have I sold at this price point, or how many I've sold in their neighborhood? I don't drive a certain car. I'm not with a certain brand. I've only been licensed for X amount of years, or, I'm not wealthy myself. These are all reasons that agents a lot of times don't even explore and step out of their comfort zone to dive into luxury. I helped a KW agent by the name of Joan Blinn in Dallas. She had never been on $1 million listing appointment in her career. She's a veteran agent. And within 60 days of going through my training, she went on a $5.1 million cancel and expired listing. Now, she did hire me to help her and coach her. But my point is, I was very proud of her, because she told me, I would have never gone on $1 million listing before your training. And so that's part of breaking down those barriers, Pat. Every agent has them. We all have them as human beings, whether they be limiting beliefs. And I tell the Roger Bannister story. He just passed away a few months ago, but he was the first person to ever run the mile under 4 minutes. And within 2 years, there were 37 other runners that ran it with under 4 minutes. And it wasn't because Gatorade came out with this new energy drink or Nike came out with the shoe. It was the mental barriers. If Roger can do it, so can I. And we all need our first start. I just did a training today for a company in Chicago called At Properties, and an agent asked me, well, Mike, this is all great, but what if when we don't have social proof? I haven't sold a home. What do we do? Well, that's a very difficult question to answer, Pat, but I would tell your listeners, maybe leverage something that an agent in your office did. Maybe your office sells a lot of $1 million properties. Well, leverage that, or leverage a team member, or leverage a coach. Leverage something. Don't mislead and say you did something, but leverage somebody else's success. And be honest with the seller. Mr. Seller, I'll be honest with you, I haven't sold any $1 million homes. Our office has, but I'm hungry. And if you want to go with the traditional agent that has a lot of $1 million homes and you're just going to be another one of their listings, I'm not the right guy. But I haven't sold any. You're going to get me. You're not going to get my team or my staff or my assistant to my assistant. You call, you get me. I promise you, I'm going to take the same principles that I've sold $300,000 and $400,000 homes and apply them to your $1 million home, and I'll work my fanny off, and you're going to get me. Like, you can take like an inexperienced agent, and if you're passionate about it and you're transparent with the seller, they know everybody has to start somewhere. But it does help if you have a powerful name behind your brand, a big franchise or large team member, or you're with the boutique, but maybe your boutique sell more properties. Leverage that.
Amazing read for agents who want to blow their business up. 6 Steps to 7 Figures was an amazing read. Pat breaks it down into simple, actionable steps that, if taken, will almost guarantee 7-figure success in the real estate sales business. Couldn't recommend this enough. Wow, thank you for the awesome Amazon review, Garo215. Now, do you want to get your hands on this book for free and blow your business up? Here's how. Go to free6stepsbook.com. That's free, S-I-X, stepsbook.com right now. Or simply text the word PAT to 444-999. That's text PAT to 444-999, and I'll send you a free book. fascinating. Okay, so let's pretend I'm an agent in somewhere, Tupelo, Mississippi, or wherever, and I'm listening to this, and I'm going to say, well, let me learn something from this. Let me take some of Michael's advice, and let's say they call expireds or they prospect a certain neighborhood with high-end listings, and all of a sudden, bing, the bell rings and they get a listing appointment. Like, what advice would you have for a coaching client going into that appointment?
I'm a big believer that you want to show up differently. When everybody goes left, I go right. When everybody comes with their laptop, I'd come with my video book. So show up differently. There's strength in numbers, Pat. So, I'm 44 years old. Maybe there's a 24-year-old new agent. That newer agent, let's call it a female, bring a more experienced agent on your team or from your office, even if they're not on your team. Hey, Pat, would you go on this appointment with me? Or so I recommend female, bring a male. If you're a male, bring a female. You just don't know. Maybe one of you will resonate better. And even if they're fresh out of real estate school, you might tell them, hey, don't say anything, take some notes, nod your head, don't say anything. And just by default, maybe that seller thinks, man, Pat, he's got some years on him. Michael's experience, 18 years. He must be, the experienced guy. And then they got this 24-year-old gal. She must be the social media, tech person or something. Just subconsciously, they're trying to figure out where everybody's role is. So I would recommend strength in numbers, show up differently. Do some due diligence. See if anybody in your team or your office has any buyers looking in that area. And if they do, you might say, hey, Pat, Mr. Seller, there's a team member or someone from my office that has a buyer. I'm not saying I have a buyer, but we might be able to bring somebody through that might be interested in your home. The other thing is, I believe legally you should disclose you represent the buyer. There's some people say you don't have to, but if you've sold a home and you represented a buyer in a certain neighborhood, you can send out a just sold postcard, but I think legally and ethically you should disclose, hey, we represented the buyer, but turn that into a positive. We represented the buyer, and guess what? We had a lot of calls on 123 Elm Street, that agent, and my buyer didn't, pick this other home, but I have other buyers that could potentially buy your home, Mr. Seller. So turn a negative into a positive. If you think, I represented a buyer, I can't do it just sold, you can.
Interesting. Okay, and then what else other than the larger things, right? Like how about some other than be motivated, have a good attitude, use youth or inexperience to your advantage. What about presentation?
Like own your numbers, right? I mean, there's 4 price points in every market: entry level, average priced homes, high end, and luxury. You got to really own the numbers, right? And so part of owning the numbers is knowing overall. In Folly Beach, South Carolina, is it a buyer's market or is it a seller's market? I define a buyer's market as when there's 7 or more months of inventory. So you got to really own the numbers. But maybe in Folly Beach overall, it's a buyer's market. But maybe those entry levels, I'm making up the number, 300 and below, man, those things are moving. They're selling above asking price. So in every market, the shift occurs from a seller's market to a buyer's market. And I would talk to my seller, my potential client, is, Mr. Seller, in a buyer's market, which your home is because you have 10 months of inventory, fill in the blank. You can't hire the same agents that do the same things over and over again that aren't selling homes. Einstein called that insanity. So do you want to go doing the same things, or do you want to hire someone that's aggressive, is hungry, is passionate? You're not going to get one of 300 team members. You're going to get me. But if you are a huge team, then leverage that. And you just haven't done luxury, leverage that. Hey, we have specialists on our team. You're not just going to get a one-man show, jack of all trades, master of none. You're going to get a team that specializes in things. So whatever your background is, I guarantee you can find the positive and leverage it and tweak it.
And I guess the whole part of the over enthusiasm is because it in addition to being enthusiastic, it makes you look confident. And if you're going into a house that's 3 times your normal price range, you certainly don't want to have a slump in your back, and you know what I mean. You don't want to. Your body does not want to fit the demeanor that one would expect.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. You want to look sharp, collared shirt if you're a guy or whatever. But I very rarely will wear a tie. Even on, I have a $16.5 million listing and $11 million, and I've worn a tie on a listing appointment probably 5 times in my career. But dress nice, look classy, be confident. You said confidence as well. I'm a big believer when you grow your knowledge, your confidence will grow. Grow your knowledge. What makes you different? What makes your office different and unique? Understanding the market numbers and the trends, and your confidence will grow. And I tell agents, go, block down the road, adjust your shirt, adjust your tie, your coat, make sure you got no book, whatever you got to do. Yeah. Do that a block down the road. Get your bag ready. So when you pull up the car, I assume that they're all looking out the window. Hey, he's here. He's here. So when you get out of that car, you walk with confidence. As I'm walking up to that door, I'm looking, I'm assessing, I'm looking to see if there's anything that jumps out that's maybe red flags as far as curb appeal, deferred maintenance, or things that we might be able to tweak.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. I love that stuff. Now, on the listing appointment itself, do you how many steps do you recommend? 1 step, 2 step, or 3 step?
Keep it really simple. Rapport. You got to build rapport first. Theodore Roosevelt once says, "Nobody cares how much you know until they know you care." I'm a big DISC personality guy, right? DISC. Certain brands really push it. If you're not familiar with it, Google.
Oh yeah.
DISC personality, but I'm a D. I'm a bottom line guy, driver, right? So I want to get right into what makes me different. I'm a result based, but I have to slow down a little bit because I might be dealing with an S or a C, a slower processor. So I tell agents, not just luxury agents, you got to have 3 types of listing presentations, Pat. You can't have a one-size-fits-all listing presentation. You got to have a more faster-paced bottom line presentation for the D or the I. You got to have a slower presentation for the S or the C, more case studies, more social proof, more analytics, bar graphs, that sort of thing, because those people are slower paced, more left brain, and they are more guarded. And then you got to have a mixed presentation. Maybe the husband's fast paced and she's slower paced. So my biggest thing is you have to build rapport during the tour of the home. And then I always ask them, where would you like me to set my stuff? Somewhere that's comfortable for you, Mr. Seller. Don't always assume kitchen table. If they say out back by the pool, or, family room, or my cigar room, or whatever, I want them to be comfortable in their setting. Because I think kitchen table, I think Cutco knife salesman. I don't want to sell them. I'm not going into a presentation. They're interviewing me, but I'm also interviewing them to see if we're the right fit for each other.
I want you to think about the word toolbox. What is a toolbox? A toolbox is a box full of tools that you use to build something great. At Real Estate Rockstars, we've created our own free toolbox. So everybody that comes on the show as a guest brings a tool with them, and we plow them all into this toolbox, and we give it away for our viewing audience to basically use as they wish. Everything we put in there is an actionable item that can be downloaded, can be printed, can be used immediately. And we got things like scripts and dialogues, checklists for teams, checklists to keep agents accountable, referral forms that are filled out at settlement to get referrals by your buyers and sellers. Everything you can think of that you could use on a regular basis about real estate is included in this toolbox. And it's helping agents worldwide sell more houses and make their jobs a lot easier and processes much more efficient. And the thing is, it's absolutely free. All you got to do is go to hibandigital.com/toolbox or text the word toolbox to 444-999. That's toolbox 444-999. Do it now. I like that. Wherever you're comfortable, where are you? And they just ask them, where are you most comfortable? And they'll say, well, shit, I'm most comfortable, at my bar. I'm most comfortable in my family room. I'm most comfortable by the pool. And then you roll with that. That's your recommendation.
I roll with that. I want them to be comfortable. Some people say, be the first agent they interview, be the last. Some people say you dictate and put your stuff down. I want them to be comfortable. My philosophy on a listing appointment is I want to give them so much value. I want to bring so much content, give them so many golden nuggets, where when I walk out of there, I'm not the arm twisting guy. I'm not the guy that says, all right, sign right now. That's not my style, Pat. I want to give so much value that when I walk out of there, they're going to say, wow, this guy is totally different.
Okay, let me stop you there. So much value. So what are some things that people could use at home listening to this that would help them bring value to a luxury listing appointment? Like, what are you bringing? What are you leaving? What are you doing?
Well, the first thing I'm not doing is I'm not bringing a CMA.
Wow. Okay, tell me.
Well, unless it's in a cookie cutter gated community with the same exact model that recently closed with the same exact finishes, it's very difficult.
Which won't happen.
It doesn't happen rarely, yeah. Right? So you're a lot of times, to win the presentation, you gotta stroke their ego a little bit, right? I mean, you're dealing with egos. The higher up you go in price point, okay, you're dealing sometimes with a little bit more ego, but they pay more for the experience.
Of course, yeah.
So I flat blank tell them, hey, Pat, listen, Mr. Seller, I don't come prepared with my CMA like many agents do. Matter of fact, if you've interviewed any other agents, Pat, and they've given you a CMA, or you talk to others after me, and they come with this nice binder with the suggested asking price, I'd walk them to the door if I were you. How can they come up with a price on your home, Pat? They haven't walked through it. You just shared with me how all your crown molding, the stone, everything's custom. You have a plan. After they made your mold, they broke it, right? It's a one of a kind. How can they give you a price and they haven't even walked through it?
And then what do you do? Yeah, I like it.
But I tell them
like massive, copious notes when you're walking through.
So I take a lot of notes, both mentally, and we take written notes as well, right? So I'm trying to get as much information on the house during that appointment, but I'm also trying to figure out their why and their motivation level. I want to know on a scale of 1 to 10, where are they at? Are they a 10 being I need it sold yesterday? Most sellers are more motivated by money, but small percent are motivated by time, right? So change in health status or marital status or job transfer. The time is important, but 8 out of 10 sellers, are more motivated. I want top dollar. The other thing that I do is I tell the story with case studies. Again, I'm looking around, Pat. I love you and your wife's pink white wallpaper and your brass all over. It's awesome. You guys have done a great job. I like the pink wallpaper. I'm being facetious, of course, right?
Yeah, sure.
But market research is the bad guy, right? So what I mean by that is, Pat, I like your pink wallpaper, but market research suggests today's buyers want turnkey. They don't really want heavy decorated homes. You see the way you live in your home, Pat, and the way I live in my home, we call that decorating to our style. Now, do you want to sell your home to a small pool of buyers that have your same style and decorating, or do you want to open it up to a larger pool of buyers, Pat?
Yeah, larger pool, please.
All right, well then here are some things, here are some suggestions based on market research that we can do to open it up to a larger pool of buyers. So most agents are terrible at articulating the things that sellers need to do, right? They buy the listing. Oh, right. Pat, I sold a home once, Pat, over $2 million that had over 100 animal heads in the house. It had a full stuffed lion, a full polar bear. It looked like a taxidermist home. And the other agents that they were interviewing from Sotheby's says, no, you're fine with it. I know I risked losing that listing by being brutally honest with them. But
you told them to put it away? Or?
Yeah, I said, can I be brutally honest with you? This is after I built rapport, of course. And they said, yeah, please. I mean, what client, a doctor, a surgeon, a a defense attorney, if they say, can I be brutally honest with you, Pat? Of course you're going to say yes.
Yeah, right.
So differentiate yourself by being honest in a thoughtful manner, but don't play the gamesmanship. I tell the sellers all the time, the oldest tricks in the book that traditional agents plays, tell you what you want to hear. Your $1.5 million home, they tell you it's worth $2.5 million and they buy the listing. And number two, they tell you, oh, I have a buyer. Hire me. I got the buyer. Well, what if you hire Pat Hyman instead? You're not going to bring the buyer through?
Right. Exactly. So let's go back to the the non-CMA CMA, right? So you're not bringing it with you. What do? Do you bring it back physically later after spending a couple of hours on it? Tell me what you do, or what you recommend your agents that you're coaching do, so people listening can do the same thing.
Yeah, so I do bring, like, I call it a luxury snapshot. I sometimes call it a MAR report, a market analysis report, but it's more general report on other homes in the 1.2 to 175 or 1.5 to 2.5. So I give a snapshot, like, hey, if somebody's coming to Folly Beach, South Carolina, and they don't care about schools, they just want a certain style home, certain square footage or acreage, based on that rough criteria, not detailed criteria, here are the other, 13, luxury snapshot, other 13 properties that they might consider.
Right. And then, but then later you just email them. I mean, at what point do you give them a price?
Yeah. So I never talk price the day of. So if today is, we're filming this, it's a Tuesday, right? So I usually tell them 48 to 72 hours, I'll get back to them with the price, and it depends on where the property is listed. Some agents are farming experts. They own a certain zip code. My philosophy is have car, will travel as an agent. In other words, I'm selling a vineyard 3 hours from me. It was a referral from somebody in Florida. They referred it to me. But my point is, that's a 3-hour drive. I'm not going to drive there to give them a price. I feel like I've wowed them enough on that listing appointment that I'm going to give them a call, and I'm going to walk through an email that I'm going to send over to them, so we can go through everything, so they have clarity on what it is I've sent them.
Wow. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And then, like you said, you're not one of those hard closers, right? You'll send them the electronic signatures for the listings.
Yeah, I'm a big DocuSign guy.
So they're either in or out, right? I mean, you're basically putting all of your efforts with regards to rapport and with regards to marketing and that sort of thing in on the first appointment. And then kind of from there, the follow-up has to do with price, which is over the phone or over video conference like we're doing now. And then a third one for paperwork. Yeah,
I mean, so first off, before the appointment, the seller should be pre-sold on you. In other words, are you sending some kind of listing package, right, with collateral and material and case studies? They ought to think.
What do you mean by collateral material?
So collateral material could be other print, other digital, other brochures, other things that you've done.
Examples, okay.
Examples, case studies, homes you've sold similar to those. And so they should be pre-sold on you before they meet with you. You got to do research on them. I called my social media scrub. What are their likes, their interests? Do you have similar connections? And so that's really important. So they're pre-sold on me. They should be, and if not, I'm not doing my job. And then the listing appointment, and I use video a lot too. I'm a big bomb video. So they should feel like they already know me before the appointment, Pat. Right,
absolutely. So whether you do a Zoom call or you do a video on BombBomb, whatever, you're spending concerted time and effort before you get there. Then definitely when you get there, and then after that, several follow-ups. It's a nice system, yeah.
That is correct.
What is something that agents tend to do to lose listings when it comes to luxury homes?
Well, I mean, they could perhaps not do their research on the property, on the builder, on the architect, maybe the story, right? Every property's got a story. So not being prepared is perhaps number one. Follow-up, poor follow-up is number two. It amazes me, though, when I speak, and I do a lot of trainings all over the country, I see agents, as the price point goes up in home prices, unfortunately many agents compete by lowering their fee, Pat, and I understand what the Sherman antitrust law says, so I'm not telling agents what to charge, but you're going to repel high net worth individuals. You're going to repel luxury sellers if you compete with commission. I test sellers all the time. I'm by far going to be probably the most expensive agent you interview. But let me share with you our marketing plan that's going to help you net money, more money, even after I get paid. So they're focused on the net, right? So you really got to talk about that. So again, unfortunately, many agents might repel a seller by trying to compete with a lower commission. You might be doing more harm than good.
Right, because at the end of the day, I mean, there are certain people, and it's usually the richer people that do this. And the wine industry is a fascinating one to watch, where, you know, they'll buy a bottle of wine based on price, you know, over what the hell it actually is. I mean, they'll put some effort into it, but you know what I mean? And it's the same thing. You know what I mean? Like there's people, if you look on Amazon.com, there's, you look for a printer, and the same exact printer or similar printers will be on, you know, 20 times, and there'll always be one that's really cheap, and there'll always be one that's really expensive. And that one that's really expensive still sells a bunch. And it sells a bunch because a lot of people out there, not the masses, but a lot, will buy whatever's most expensive, assuming that it's the best quality, right? And they don't have time to look at all the reviews and stuff. So they'll just say, yeah, it's got to be the best quality. I'll pick that one. And the same thing happens with real estate agents, right? So they'll respect you more, and they're used to paying top dollar for things.
That's exactly right. And the other thing to remember, I tell agents all the time, the most listened to radio station in South Carolina is the same one in Maryland, the same one in Illinois, the same one in West Coast, is WIIFM. All sellers care about is what's in it for me as a seller. What are you going to do to save them time, aggravation, get their home sold faster so they can make more money than the next guy? And so you have to create marketing pieces when you're putting content marketing out there for buyers, for sellers. You have to remember that. So the radio station that agents should be listening to is AAT, all about them. So when you're creating stuff, focus on the seller, focus on results. Okay, and that's really important, but most agents don't do a good job. They're talking about their awards and features, but not benefits to the seller. Benefits.
Yeah, I love it. Great advice. Great advice. Well, this is exciting. Well, Michael, let's move this to the end here with talking about your free gift. What free gift did you bring the Rockstar Nation today?
I brought 3 free gifts.
All right.
Yes, if they're mobile users, they're going to want to text the word LUXE, L-U-X-E, to 7200. Text the word LUXE, L-U-X-E, to 72,000 on their mobile phone, and they'll be redirected, and we will email them my ultimate luxury blueprint. Okay, I'll email them a 56-point video checklist and a 3-part video series on how to break into and sell homes. So they're going to want to text the word LUXE, L-U-X-E, which, by the way, is my certification, luxury listing specialist, or LUXE for short. They're going to text that to 72,000. And Pat, free is the most powerful word in marketing, right? You can put garbage at the end of your street, at the end of your driveway, and put a free sign, and it'll be gone before you're up at your house. Okay, I have a podcast like you. It's on iTunes and Stitcher called Luxury Listing Specialist. It's free, where we interview top luxury agents or influencers, and that's another great resource for your listeners.
Absolutely, I've listened to it myself, and it's one of the best out there. So,
Thank you.
Guys, and I'm going to put links to all this. I'm going to put links to Michael's podcast. I'm going to put links to everything that he's given away for free in his show notes, in case you're driving your car, which will be at hibandigital.com/Michael LaFido. It's LaFido. Michael LaFido. And the number 2, because this is the second time he's been on. He was on about 300 or 400 episodes ago, so it's been a while. So
18 months ago, our book's been out since our last episode. Our book wasn't even out then, Pat.
That's right. And I'm gonna. By the way, guys, I'm gonna put a link to the Amazon link for his book if you want to take a look at it. I highly recommend it. That will be on the show notes as well, hibandigital.com/Michael LaFido 2. I'm also going to put all of this in the Agent Success Toolbox, which you guys can get by going to hibandigital.com/toolbox or texting the word toolbox to 444-999. Michael, it's been a blast. If I'm ever in Chicago, I will definitely look you up, and we can break some bread.
Awesome. Appreciate your time, Pat.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Real Estate Rockstars. If this free content is giving you a ton of value, I want to ask a small favor in return. I need you to pull out your pointing finger and hit the subscribe button. Yes, hit subscribe, please. The more subscribers that we get on Real Estate Rockstars, the better guests are attracted to the shows. We'll get more guests from the top companies, from the top teams, and even more celebrity guests like Robert Kiyosaki and Barbara Corcoran. Also, if you're not a member of our free Facebook group, go to Real Estate Rockstars Radio right on Facebook and join the conversation. I'm on there myself on FaceTime Lives, and we have a lot of communications and questions about the show, and I'd love to see you there. And it's free. People ask me all the time, where am I on social media? I'm real easy to find. Just type in my name. My IG is I am Pat Hyben. It is blowing up on Instagram, adding tons of subscribers, and I'm on there probably twice a day. So definitely follow me on Instagram, as well as everywhere else. Thanks again for listening, and keep rocking.